Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. The sound of my phone buzzing pulled my attention away from the email I was finishing. Not the usual single notification. Rapid fire. One after another. The kind of alert pattern that makes your stomach drop before you even look at the screen. I was sitting in my car outside our townhouse near Rittenhouse Square. The late afternoon sun cut through the windshield as the notifications kept coming. Comments. Tags. Laughing emojis. My name mentioned over and over. I opened my social media app. A video posted 20 minutes ago from Alexis's account. The thumbnail showed my wife and 4 friends on our living room couch. Title: Rating Our Husbands. Brutal Honesty Edition, followed by fire and skull emojis. 847 views. 126 comments. All from people we knew. I pressed play. My wife held up a printed photo of me from our anniversary dinner last month. Okay, so my husband Cameron, Alexis announced. Overall rating, I'm giving him a 4 out of 10. The group erupted. Whitney clutched her chest dramatically. Brooke made an exaggerated sound like she was watching someone get roasted. I sat in my car watching my marriage become entertainment. This wasn't a private conversation. This was calculated, filmed, edited, posted publicly. My wife just announced to everyone we knew that I was worth 4 out of 10. The cold clarity that settled over me wasn't anger. It was understanding. She chose to humiliate me publicly. She chose to make our relationship a spectacle. I kept watching. Whitney's voice came through clearly. Okay, we're rating in 5 categories: looks, romance, housework, financial contribution, and overall husband quality. They'd created a spreadsheet. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. Looks, I give him a 4. He's okay, like he's not ugly, but he's not someone you'd look at twice, you know? Brooke leaned forward. Yeah, I remember when you started dating him. I was like, really? Him? Romance? 3 out of 10. He took me to Vernick Fish for our anniversary, which was nice, but he didn't plan anything special, just made a reservation. I remembered that dinner. 2 weeks of planning. Her favorite wine arranged ahead. A special dessert coordinated with the chef. Apparently that rated a 3. Housework, I'll give him a 5. I'm basically his manager. Rachel jumped in. That's all men though. They need task lists like children. Financially, maybe a 6. He makes decent money, but I make more. Overall husband quality, yeah, 4 out of 10. He's stable, reliable, but that's kind of boring. He's just there, existing, doing the bare minimum. Then Rachel suggested it. We should make this a series. Rate them every 3 months, see if they improve. Heather agreed immediately. Yes, and we can share it with other wives. Start a whole movement. Men need accountability. My wife nodded enthusiastically. I love that. Like a performance review. Maybe it'll motivate him to step up his game. I watched them plan future episodes. Discuss other categories they could add. Talk about getting more wives involved. Create a shared calendar for the next rating session. They were treating this like a business venture, a content strategy, a movement. I sat in my car, watching the sun sink lower over Philadelphia, and made screenshots of everything. The video, the comment section where our mutual friends were either laughing or posting shocked emojis. The timestamps, the view count climbing in real time. Then I looked up at our townhouse, the home I'd been paying the mortgage on for 3 years, the place I thought I was building with someone who respected me. I downloaded the video to my phone, made sure I had copies of everything, and got out of the car. Time to go inside. The front door was unlocked. I could hear them before I opened it. The same laughter from the video, now live and echoing through my own house. Wine glasses clinking. Someone's phone chiming with notifications. The excited chatter of people who thought they'd done something clever. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The 4 friends were still sprawled across my furniture, phones out, drinks in hand. Heather spotted me first. Oh, he's home. The energy in the room shifted. Not guilty, exactly. More like kids who'd been caught doing something they knew was questionable, but hadn't really thought through the consequences. Excited. A little nervous. Mostly anticipating my reaction. Alexis jumped up from the couch, phone still in her hand. Hey, babe. We were just making content. I finished for her, walking calmly toward my usual chair. Yeah, I saw 847 views in 20 minutes. That's impressive reach. I sat down like I was settling in to watch TV. Completely relaxed. Interested. Calm. The friends exchanged glances. This clearly wasn't what they'd expected. Whitney recovered first, her voice bright with the same false cheerfulness from the video. We were just having fun. You know, girl talk. Girl talk, I repeated, looking around at each of them. That's what we're calling public ratings now. Alexis laughed nervously, setting her wine glass down on the coffee table. It's just a silly video. Don't take it so seriously. I'm not taking it seriously at all, I said, and I meant it. Actually, I'm fascinated by the methodology. You had categories. A spreadsheet. This was systematic. Brooke looked pleased that I'd noticed. We spent like 2 hours planning it. We wanted to be thorough. 2 hours. I nodded appreciatively. And you rated in 5 categories. Looks, romance, housework, financial contribution, and overall quality. Very comprehensive. Rachel was taking notes again on her phone, probably planning to post my reaction as part 2. Can I ask? I continued in the same conversational tone. Was this just for entertainment, or were you planning something more with it? Heather answered enthusiastically. Oh, we want to make it a series. Rate our husbands every 3 months. Keep them accountable. Accountable. I tested the word, letting it sit in the air for a moment. So this is a performance management system? Alexis sat back down, visibly relaxing. She thought my calm meant acceptance. Maybe even approval. Kind of, yeah? Like, you guys don't get feedback often enough. You don't know if you're doing well or not. Whitney added, and posting it publicly adds motivation. Nobody wants to be the husband with the lowest score. That makes sense, I agreed. Public accountability. Social pressure. Very effective management techniques. I leaned forward slightly, resting my elbows on my knees. Genuinely curious now. So I'm curious about one thing. In this accountability system, do the wives also get rated? The question landed differently than my previous ones. The easy laughter stopped. The friends looked at each other, suddenly uncertain. That's different, Alexis said slowly. How so? I asked. I'm genuinely asking. If we're establishing public accountability for spouses, wouldn't that go both ways? Rachel shifted in her seat. It's not the same thing. Help me understand why not, I said with perfect patience. They were starting to sense something was off, but they couldn't identify what. I was being too reasonable, too calm, too interested. It didn't fit the script they'd imagined for this confrontation. Whitney tried to explain. Women are already judged constantly. We're held to impossible standards. That's true, I acknowledged. So your solution is to create impossible standards for men and judge them publicly? Silence. I'm not being rhetorical, I continued. I'm trying to understand the principle here. Brooke attempted an answer. It's just that men don't face the same pressures. So this is about equity? I asked. You're balancing existing judgment with additional judgment? Rachel's voice had an edge now. You're twisting our words. Am I? I kept my tone genuinely curious. I'm using your own logic. If experiencing judgment justifies creating judgment, then anyone who's been judged has the right to judge others. That creates an endless cycle. No one had a response to that. I let the silence stretch for a moment before continuing. Let me ask something else. Before you filmed this, did any of you discuss it with your husbands? The silence was answer enough. So you made a video rating your husband's worth as partners and posted it publicly without their knowledge or consent. Alexis finally found her voice. It's not like we need permission to talk about our own relationships. Talk about them privately, sure, I agreed. But this isn't private. This is broadcast. There's a difference between venting to friends and creating content that 847 people have viewed. I paused, making sure they were following. If I made a video rating you in 5 categories and posted it publicly, would you consider that talking about my relationship or something else? Heather's answer came quickly. That would be cruel. I let that word hang in the air for a long moment. So when I do it, it's cruel. When you do it, it's what? Entertainment? Accountability? I pulled out my phone and opened the downloaded video. Let's go through the ratings. Looks, 4 out of 10. You said I'm not someone you'd look at twice, and Brooke added she was surprised you dated me at all. Brooke suddenly became very interested in her wine glass. Romance, 3 out of 10. The Vernick fish dinner I spent 2 weeks planning was dismissed as just making a reservation. Alexis started to interrupt. I didn't know you planned. You didn't ask. You assumed, then rated me a 3. I scrolled through my screenshots. Housework, 5 out of 10. You said I don't see things that need to be done. Last week, I cleaned the entire kitchen after you cooked, did 3 loads of laundry, fixed the leaking faucet in the guest bathroom, and reorganized the garage. None of that counted? Alexis looked down at her hands. Financial, 6 out of 10. You make more money than me. That's true. You also knew that when we got married. Did my salary suddenly become inadequate? Or is this just another way to find me lacking? Whitney tried to intervene. She was just being honest. Was she? Because I know exactly what I contribute financially. I pay the mortgage. I pay utilities. I paid for the new furniture. I covered the vacation to Portland last month. But I'm a 6 because I don't think about our future? I set my phone down and looked at each woman in turn. Here's what I find interesting. Individually, would any of you have posted something like this? No one answered. But together, feeding off each other's energy, validating each other's worst impulses, suddenly it feels not just acceptable, but fun. That's not friendship. That's mob mentality. Rachel started to object. That's not fair, isn't it? You spent 2 hours creating ways to publicly humiliate your husbands. You laughed about it, planned to make it a series, talked about starting a movement. That's not support. That's a contest to see who can be the most disrespectful while convincing each other it's empowerment. Whitney stood up abruptly. You know what? I don't have to sit here and... Yes, you do. My voice didn't rise, but something in my tone made her sit back down. Because in about 5 minutes, you're going to need to answer a question, and you'll want to hear all the context first. She sat. I stood up slowly, taking my time. Here's what I genuinely don't understand. What did you expect to happen after posting this? Alexis's voice was small now. I don't know. I thought you'd laugh it off. Maybe try harder? You thought publicly calling me a 4 out of 10 would motivate me to improve. She nodded uncertainly. How would you react if I posted a video calling you a 4? I'd be devastated. But you expected me to what? Be grateful for the feedback? The contradiction was so obvious now that even the friends were shifting uncomfortably. Let me make sure I understand your philosophy. I continued. Respect can be demanded publicly. Loyalty is optional. Dignity is negotiable. And marriage is content to be monetized for likes and views. Brooke tried to minimize. You're making this sound worse than it is. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, you all just told the world that your husbands are inadequate, boring, and disappointing. That's not exaggeration. That's literally what you said. On video. Permanently. I moved to stand in front of them, not threatening, just changing position. Imagine if I posted a video rating my wife's performance as a spouse. Categories. Appearance, comparing her to women I find more attractive. Domestic skills, criticizing her cooking and cleaning. Earning potential, calling her career unambitious. Emotional support, saying she's not exciting enough. Then posting it where her boss, her parents, her colleagues could all see it. Alexis was crying now. Stop it. Why? I'm just holding you accountable. Providing feedback. Isn't that what you called it? Whitney's voice had an edge. This is manipulative. No, manipulative is creating a rating system designed to humiliate your spouse and calling it accountability. What I'm doing is called showing you what your own logic looks like when it's applied to you. I sat back down, completely calm again. So here's where we are. You've established that public humiliation of spouses is acceptable entertainment. Rating your partner's worth is appropriate feedback, and respect is optional as long as your friends approve. Do I have that right? No one wanted to agree, but no one could articulate why I was wrong. Good, because you've just set the rules for a game you didn't realize you were playing. And now it's my turn. The room went completely silent. I let them sit with that for a moment before continuing. You wanted accountability? You wanted a performance review system? Fine. Here's my rule, and it's much simpler than your 5-category spreadsheet. I made sure I had everyone's attention. Any wife who posts a public rating of her husband automatically agrees to have that rating reversed and reposted to the same audience. Alexis's face went pale. What does that mean? It means you rated me a 4 out of 10 publicly. So I get to rate you a 4 out of 10 publicly. Same platform, same audience, same level of detail. Whitney found her voice. You can't do that. Why not? You established that public ratings are acceptable. You created the framework. I'm just applying it equally. Brooke shook her head. That's completely different. How? Explain the difference. You used your social media to judge me. I'll use mine to judge you. You had 847 viewers. I'll aim for the same reach. You had categories and specific criticisms. So will I? Rachel looked genuinely distressed. But that would be humiliating. Exactly. The single word landed like a physical blow. Heather tried a different approach. This isn't fair. You're trying to punish us. No, punishment would be disproportionate. This is purely symmetrical. You set the standard for what's acceptable in your marriage. I'm accepting that standard and applying it. Alexis was shaking her head frantically. I would never have posted it if I thought you'd. If you thought there would be consequences, that's the problem, isn't it? You thought you could rate me publicly and I'd just accept it. Take it on the chin. Maybe work harder to please you. I leaned forward again. But here's what you forgot. Marriage is a two-way street. Respect is mutual. And if you genuinely believe that public rating systems improve relationships, then you should have no problem being rated yourself. Whitney stood up again. So what? We're just supposed to agree to let you humiliate us. You're not agreeing to anything. You already agreed when you posted the video. I'm just informing you of the terms you accepted. Alexis's voice broke. This is blackmail. No, blackmail would be threatening to post something unless you give me something I want. I'm not asking for anything. I'm telling you what's going to happen based on the rules you created. I stood up and walked toward the door, then turned back. You wanted content? You wanted a series? You wanted accountability? Congratulations. You're about to get all three. I watched the panic spread through the group like a wave. They were finally understanding what they'd done. Not just the video, though that was bad enough. They'd established a precedent where public humiliation was acceptable relationship behavior. And now they were on the receiving end of the precedent they created. Alexis jumped up from the couch. Wait. Let's just talk about this. The video was a mistake. I'll delete it right now. She reached for her phone. It's already been downloaded 23 times according to your analytics. Screenshots are everywhere. You can delete the original, but it's out there. Whitney tried again. But if she deletes it, then you don't need to. The consequence isn't dependent on the video still being up. The consequence is for posting it in the first place. Brooke's voice rose. You're being unreasonable. I turned to her slowly. Am I? You spent 2 hours creating content to humiliate your husbands. I'm spending 5 minutes explaining why that was a mistake. Who's being unreasonable? Rachel played the joke card. Come on, it was obviously just a joke. We weren't serious. I pulled out my phone and showed them their own video still playing on my screen. Let me read some of these comments from our mutual friends. OMG, brutal, but honest. Girl, you need an upgrade. Glad I'm not married to a 4 out of 10. This is hilarious. Do more. I scrolled through more comments. Nobody thought it was a joke, Rachel. They thought it was real. Because it was real. You meant every rating, every criticism, every laugh. Heather tried the venting defense. We were just venting. Venting is private. This was publication. There's a legal difference, by the way. Publication of statements that damage someone's reputation. You might want to think about that. The threat of legal consequences clearly hadn't occurred to them. The room got quieter. Before you try to claim this was spontaneous or unplanned, let me remind you what you said on camera. I pulled up specific timestamps. Whitney said, we should make this a series. Rachel suggested rating your husbands every 3 months. Heather talked about starting a movement. This wasn't a joke. This was the pilot episode of a show you were planning. Alexis tried to interrupt. We weren't actually going to. You weren't going to what? Continue? You already set the 3-month reminder. I can see it on your shared calendar. I showed them the screenshot I'd taken from the video where their shared calendar was briefly visible. Q2 husband ratings, April 15th. Whitney stood up abruptly. Look, I think I should just go. Sit down, Whitney. You were the ringleader. You suggested the categories. You said men need accountability. You don't get to leave before understanding what accountability actually means. She sat. Each of you contributed something specific to this video. Whitney, the categories. Rachel, the documentation and screenshots. Brooke, the harshest comments. Heather, the filming and posting. And Alexis, the actual ratings. I looked at each of them in turn. You all participated. You all laughed. You all validated each other. So you all get to face what comes next. I pulled out my phone again and opened my contacts. So here's what happens now. I'm going to call each of your husbands. I'm going to show them the video. Then I'm going to explain what their wives spent this afternoon doing. The panic was immediate and electric. Alexis lurched forward. No, please don't. Whitney's voice climbed an octave. My husband will lose his mind. Rachel looked genuinely terrified. We have kids, he can't find out about this. Brooke's composure finally cracked. This will ruin my marriage. Then you shouldn't have made the video. The words came out flat. Final. No room for negotiation. Heather tried desperate bargaining. What do you want? We'll do anything. Delete our accounts. Never post about our husbands again. I don't want anything. You don't get to bargain your way out of consequences by offering to not do the thing you should never have done in the first place. Whitney stood again, desperation clear in her voice. But if we delete everything and apologize? An apology doesn't undo the humiliation. Deleting doesn't erase the 847 people who watched. Your offer is to stop doing something horrible if I agree not to hold you accountable for having done it. That's not how consequences work. Alexis was fully crying now, mascara running down her face. I just wanted them to like me. They're all so confident, and I felt like I had to contribute something. I didn't think about what it would do to you. I just wanted to fit in. There it was. The real motivation. Finally, you were willing to destroy your husband's reputation to impress people who, let's be honest, probably talk about you the same way when you're not around. I looked at the other women. You all do it, don't you? When one of you isn't here, the others rate her, judge her, laugh about her. The guilty looks that passed between them confirmed it. You're not friends. You're a firing squad where everyone takes turns being the target. And today, you made me the target to avoid being it yourself. I started scrolling through my contacts, finding the first husband's number. Alexis practically screamed. Stop. Please. I'll do anything. Anything. That's the second time you've said that. Let me ask you something. If our positions were reversed right now, if I'd posted that video about you, would anything be enough? Would an apology fix it? Would deleting it undo the damage? Alexis shook her head, still sobbing. So why should it be different for you? No one had an answer. I held my phone up, finger hovering over the call button. Here's what's going to happen. Each of you is going to go home. You're going to sit down with your husband, and you're going to show him the video and explain what you did. Rachel tried to object. We can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Because if you don't, I will. And I promise you, it will be worse coming from me than from you. I set my phone down on the coffee table where they could all see it. The threat was still there, visible, real. You'll explain that you participated in creating content designed to publicly humiliate him. You'll explain that you thought it was funny. You'll explain that you planned to make it a series. And then you'll accept whatever consequences he decides. Whitney found her voice. What if we refuse? Then I send them all the video right now, along with screenshots of your group chat where you planned this, your shared calendar with future rating dates, and every comment from people we know who thought it was hilarious. Brooke tried to find a legal angle. That's extortion. No, extortion would be demanding money or something of value. I'm offering you the chance to come clean voluntarily instead of being exposed involuntarily. That's called mercy, not extortion. I picked up my phone again. You have 60 seconds to decide. Tell them yourself, or I tell them for you. I looked at my watch, letting them see me track the time. And just so we're clear on what option B looks like, I don't just send the video. I create a timeline. Screenshots with timestamps showing when you planned this, when you filmed it, when you posted it. I include the comment section showing people we know laughing at your husbands. I add the calendar showing you planned future episodes. I made eye contact with each woman. Then I send it to your husbands, your parents, your siblings, and anyone else who was in those 847 views. If you're going to humiliate your spouses publicly, everyone should know exactly what kind of wife you are. Whitney broke first. Fine. I'll tell him. Just don't send anything. When? Tonight. As soon as I get home. Show me the text confirming you're on your way home to talk to him. Right now. Her hands were shaking as she typed. Coming home now. We need to talk about something serious I did today. She held up the phone so I could see the sent message. Good. You're first. Go. Whitney grabbed her purse and left without another word. Brooke stood up next. I'll tell my husband too. Tonight. Not good enough. Whitney's husband will tell yours. They golf together. You've got 2 hours before he hears it from someone else. Brooke went pale. 2 hours? Better start driving. She practically ran for the door. Heather was already texting her husband. Are you home? Need to talk immediately. She showed me the message and left without waiting for my approval. Rachel was the last one still seated. She looked at me with something between defiance and desperation. This is wrong. You're bullying us into confessing to something that wasn't that big of a deal. Rachel, stop. I know you recorded the whole planning session before you started filming the actual video. It's still on Heather's phone. The part where you all decided this would keep the husbands in line. Where Whitney said, if they get mad, we'll just gaslight them into thinking they're overreacting. Rachel's defiance evaporated. Your husband teaches middle school. He's one of 2 male teachers in that school. How do you think the other teachers will treat him when they see a video of his wife calling him inadequate? In front of their kids' parents? Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. You wouldn't. Try me. You have the same choice everyone else had. Tell him yourself, or I'll make sure everyone in his professional circle sees what you really think of him. She stood slowly, gathering her things. I'll tell him. But this is cruel. Yes, it is. Now you know how it feels. She left, closing the door quietly behind her. Now it was just me and Alexis in our living room. The room where she'd filmed her betrayal. The room that was supposed to be our shared space, not a stage for public humiliation. What about us? Alexis asked quietly, her voice hoarse from crying. What happens to our marriage? I walked to the window and looked out at Rittenhouse Square, the park where we used to walk together, where I proposed 3 years ago. I don't know yet. Right now, I'm trying to decide if we have a marriage worth saving. Please don't say that. I made a mistake. I was stupid. I'll do better. You rated me 4 out of 10. Not in private where we could talk about your concerns. Not in couples therapy where we could work on things together. On social media. For entertainment. For validation from people you barely like. I turned to face her. You didn't just hurt my feelings, Alexis. You announced to everyone we know that you don't respect me. That you find me inadequate. Boring. Not worth a second look. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wedding ring. I'd slipped it off in the car after watching the video. It felt wrong to keep wearing it after what I'd seen. This ring means something to me. It meant I was building a life with someone who had my back, who valued me, who wouldn't trade my dignity for likes and views. I set it on the coffee table, right next to her laptop that was still open to the video's analytics page. I don't know if it means anything to you anymore. Alexis stared at the ring like it was a snake. What are you saying? I'm saying that a 4 out of 10 husband doesn't have to stay married to a wife who rates him publicly. I'm saying that respect isn't negotiable. I'm saying that I deserve better than someone who sees our marriage as content to monetize. I picked up my keys from the table by the door. Where are you going? Out. To think about whether I want to be rated for the rest of my life, or if I want a partner who actually values me. How long will you be gone? As long as it takes to decide if this marriage is worth a damn. I opened the door, then paused. One more thing needed to be said. By the way, I made a video too. Filmed myself watching your video. Documented every reaction, every rating, every laugh. It's in my drafts folder, ready to post. Alexis's eyes went wide. You wouldn't. That depends entirely on what happens next. You have a choice to make. Delete your social media presence entirely, acknowledge what you did to everyone who saw that video, and spend the next year proving you understand why it was wrong. Or I post my video, and everyone sees exactly what kind of wife you are. I stepped through the doorway. Choose carefully. 4 out of 10 husbands don't give second chances. I walked out of my own house, leaving behind my wedding ring and a wife who finally understood the cost of her cruelty. I didn't go far. Just to Rittenhouse Square, to the bench where I'd proposed. The evening air was cool, the park mostly empty. I sat down and pulled out my phone. The messages started within minutes. Whitney's husband, holy shit. Did you know about this? Brooke's husband, can we talk? What the hell happened today? Rachel's husband, my wife is sobbing. Says you threatened her. What's going on? I sent the same response to each one. Check the video your wife posted. Then ask her to explain. I'll be available to talk after you've heard her side. I sat on that bench for over an hour, watching the sun set behind the Philadelphia skyline. My phone kept buzzing. More messages from the husbands. A few from mutual friends who'd seen the video and were reaching out. One from my brother asking if I was okay. I didn't respond to any of them yet. I just sat there, thinking about what happens next. In the span of an hour, for marriages were having the same crisis conversation. For women were explaining to their husbands why they thought public humiliation was acceptable. For men were learning what their wives really thought of them. And I was deciding whether my marriage would be the fifth casualty or if it could somehow be salvaged. People think strength is about fighting, yelling, making demands. But real strength is knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. Real strength is looking at someone you love and saying, I love you, but I love myself more than I'm willing to be disrespected. Alexis wanted excitement, spontaneity, a husband who worshipped her, someone who made her feel special every moment of every day. She wanted perfection on demand. But marriage isn't a performance. It's partnership, and partners don't rate each other for an audience. My phone rang. Alexis. I considered not answering, but avoiding conversations doesn't solve anything. I answered. Yes. Her voice was wrecked. I deleted everything. The video, my social media accounts, all of it. I called everyone who commented and explained what I did was wrong. I'm so sorry. Why did you do it? I told you. I wanted them to like me. No. Why did you think it was okay to humiliate me to make friends? Long silence. I don't know. It started as just complaining, the way friends do. But then it escalated, and I got caught up in the energy. They were laughing and encouraging me, and I felt powerful, like I was the interesting one for once. You felt powerful because you were tearing me down. That's not power. That's cruelty masquerading as confidence. I know that now. Do you? Because here's what concerns me. You didn't realize it was wrong until there were consequences. You thought it was funny until I explained what happens when I apply your own logic to you. That's not growth. That's fear of punishment. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I want you to understand something. If we're going to stay married, you need to understand that respect is non-negotiable. I'm not your project. I'm not your content. I'm not a score to be improved or managed or rated. I took a breath, looking out at the park. I'm your partner. Or I was. And partners don't humiliate each other for validation from strangers. Can you forgive me? Eventually, maybe. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And it's definitely not the same as continuing on like this didn't happen. What does that mean? It means we start over. New rules. New boundaries. And the first boundary is this. Our marriage is private. Our problems stay between us. Our life together is not content for consumption. Ever. I agree. Anything else? Yeah. You need to figure out why you needed their approval so badly you'd sacrifice mine. Therapy. Individual therapy, not couples. Okay. I'll call tomorrow. I'm not coming home tonight. I need time to think about whether I want to rebuild this or walk away. Please don't leave me. I'll do better. I promise. Stop promising. Start demonstrating. If I come home tomorrow and your social media is back up, we're done. If I hear you talking about me to those friends, we're done. If you ever put our relationship on display for validation again, we're done. I understand. I hope so. Because 4 out of 10 husbands might stick around and accept disrespect. But I'm not a 4 out of 10. I never was. You just couldn't see my worth because you were too busy performing for people who don't matter. I hung up and sat in the dark for a while longer. The wedding ring was still on the coffee table at home. 3 years of marriage sitting next to a laptop showing analytics for a video that reduced me to a number. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. Just saw the video. Want me to come get you? I typed back. I'm okay. Just thinking. About what? Whether love is enough when respect is gone. His response was simple. It's not. You deserve both. He was right. I stood up from the bench and started walking through Philadelphia, past places where we'd made memories back when I thought we were building something real. Tomorrow I'd decide. Tonight, I'd remember who I was before I became a rating. Before I became content. Before I became a 4 out of 10. Some people think being a good husband means accepting whatever treatment comes your way. But being a good husband doesn't mean being a doormat. It means having the self-respect to demand mutual respect in return. I learned that lesson today. And 5 women learned what happens when you treat your partner like a product to be reviewed instead of a person to be valued. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.